Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Devin Sears. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Dave Ryan, and we are talking about our new AI-powered website generator for WordPress today. I'm super excited about this. I think this is going to make building a WordPress website way easier than it ever has been before. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited for the potential that this brings to people that have built websites before and people that are building their first WordPress website ever. So before I get too ahead of myself, I want to take a moment and introduce Dave Ryan. He is our senior product manager. I'll give him a second to introduce himself in just a few minutes, but he is working specifically on bringing this product to market. So he is living and breathing this product. So I can't think of a better person to introduce it to us all today and to show us some of the feature sets that we'll be experiencing. As always, I am the Senior Field Marketing Manager. I'm Devin Sears. And before we jump into any of the content, I want to just take care of one or two quick housekeeping items. First things first, if you can hear us, go ahead and find the chat on the right side of your browser and tell us where you're tuning in from. If you're tuning in from a mobile device, oftentimes you'll need to unmute the audio on the stream. And if you have any issues hearing anything or with any audio, please let us know in the chat. Most of the problems can be resolved by restarting the browser and rejoining the webinar. But if you're still having issues, go ahead and drop something in the chat and I'll do my best to help and see what we can do to help troubleshoot and get you back up and running. The number one question that is always asked is, will this be recorded and how can I see a recording of this? The answer is yes. Everyone that registered for this webinar will be sent an email within 24 or 48 hours after we're done today with a recording of the webinar. So if you have to drop at any point, we will miss you, but we understand and we'll make sure that you get to see the content. Also, if we go over something that you want to kind of go back and redigest, you'll have that opportunity as well. As we go along, if you have any questions about what Dave is presenting on, there's a Q&A tab next to the chat tab, and you can drop your questions in there. I will be off screen. I'm going to turn my camera off so I can focus on that, and I will be answering as many of those questions as I possibly can. If there's a question that stumps me or that I think would be beneficial for the group, I'm going to hold that till the end for a Q&A that I'll be moderating questions and asking Dave, and he'll be sharing more knowledge with us at that point. So diving back into the content, today what we'll be covering, we've got a lot we want to go over, and most of this is actually going to be a live demo, which I'm very excited about. We're doing it live, and that's always very, very fun when we can just jump right into the product and show step by step what a user might experience and how they can really get the most out of what Bluehost offers them. So here's a list of what we'll be covering. We'll overview the integration with WordPress. We'll jump into how AI simplifies and streamlines the design process. We're going to demo, I think Dave mentioned he's going to build one, maybe even two sites. It's just some real world use cases that we've pulled from some of the data with some of our users to say, hey, this seems like it could be something that a lot of people are trying to build. So we're just going to build it today on the webinar. And along the way, he's going to point out some of the features that are helpful, that he's excited about, and that will be beneficial for people that are building a website. And then we'll get into benefits for businesses, agencies, and freelancers, and future developments and enhancements, what the next steps and what's coming down the road still with everything going on with this. So enough from me. Thank you all for tuning in. We're excited to have you here. And Dave, I'm super excited to have you join us today. At this point, take it away, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Devin. Great to be with you today and great to be with you all. Hi, everyone. My name is Dave Ryan. I am a product manager here at Bluehost. I work on a lot of our WordPress products, and some of the stuff I get to work on, I'm really excited to show you today because I think a bunch of you are going to be using it, hopefully, sometime soon. So I wanted to give you a quick overview of our integration with WordPress. and basically just take a look at some of the cool stuff that we have been building. So you should now be able to see my screen. I'm actually going to jump back a tab here. So here I am in my Bluehost websites panel on my Bluehost account. It's this websites link here on the left. And this is my staff account, so you can see that I have a few websites on here, and I have a few demo accounts set up here that we'll work in today. And all of the sites that I set up here, I just came in right before our call, and I just said add account. So I could click this button here. And with your shared hosting plan with Bluehost, you often can install new and additional WordPresses. So you could spin up a new blog or spin up a new business. So here is just a quick look at, again, I came in here, set up a site title, and then at the end of this flow, I ended up right here in our new AI website generator. So it says, welcome to WordPress, powered by Bluehost, and it asks me where I want to start. So I want to just take a look at some of these options because some of you might have an existing website, and some of you might be here because you're looking to start fresh with AI and you didn't have a website before. So the first option on the left is our AI website creator, and that uses AI throughout the process to help assist you, to help you sort of visualize what your site can look like. I think of it almost like staging a house. It's not necessarily the house you would move into, but it can show you how you might put your TV or your couch or your bed in the space. We also have a more guided do-it-yourself configuration that's still, you're not writing code, you're not setting up a website manually, but you have a little bit more flexibility in how your site is set up. And we also have options where you can hire one of our professionals to help you through this process if you decide it's not for you. If you have an existing WordPress site, you're just ready to import and get started at Bluehost, you can find that link right here below the 3 boxes. And if you're following a tutorial, sometimes folks will find a tutorial on a blog. We want to give you an easy way to just follow the instructions you're already working from. So those are the few different options you have as you get started. And I'm going to start with our AI website creator. And this is going to say, tell our AI engine what kind of site you want to make and let it handle some of the content and design for you. So I'm going to say get started. And it's going to ask me some details about the site that I want created. And it's giving me a little example here. The example it's giving me is Bean Bear Cafe, a cozy, sustainable coffee shop in Asheville, North Carolina. And it tells me a little bit about what the site will feature. And that's a good prompt. The more detail you can give, the better. You want to try to pack in as much as you can about sort of who you are and what you're trying to do. So I have pre-written a little bit about the site that I want to build today. I have a friend with a bagel shop down the street, and it's called Sunrise Bagels. So I'm just going to copy in here something he emailed me because I'm helping him build a website. So he said, enjoy the best bagels in town at Sunrise Bagels, a family-owned shop using traditional New York methods. Tells you a little bit about it, and you get the sense of sort of what kind of business this is. And our AI site generator will get started. Now, I don't have a Facebook account because I don't have his login for his bagel shop. But if I did, and I had photos in there, I had some other posts, and I connected my Facebook account, our AI site generator will start pulling in some of your content and learning a little bit more about you from what's publicly available on your Facebook profile. So I'm just going to say skip this for now for me. But I do have a logo. He did email me a logo. So I'm going to go over to what he sent me and Sunrise Bagels. So this is his logo. Looks pretty good. And I'm actually just going to drag and drop that. Now you could also just click here and it will give me an option to upload, but nice drag and drop. It has my logo. And our AI site generator has everything it needs to get started. It's taking that prompt I gave it to tell it a little bit about my business. It's looking at my logo and looking at some of the colors and the fonts, some of the things that I'm starting to do. And it's not going to make a perfect match necessarily, but it's going to start trying to figure out what might I need to succeed based off of what it knows about small business websites. It is going to ask me how familiar I am with WordPress here. And I'm just going to say I'm a beginner for this case. So it's working on generating a few different versions of my site here. And so now I've been presented with 3 different options. So it took that idea of sunrise bagels and authentic New York taste, and it just pulled some stock images and created some basic text for me. But I can go in there now and pretty easily customize that design. So I can see that first one looks pretty nice. But I think the one I like the best so far is this third one. So it tells me here that I can actually favorite a generated version if I want to find it in the future. So I'm actually going to do that. But I kind of like this first one, but I want to see what it might come up with if I say regenerate. So that is an option if you don't like some of the first few. Actually that one isn't necessarily what I'm looking for either. You know what? That 5th one actually is the one that I think I'm going to work from. So I'm going to favorite this one again, maybe some of these others, but I'm going to say preview this version. And I could go back here if I needed to go and change my logo or fix something. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and say preview. Now we're entering what we call the WonderStudio. And this is going to give me a live preview of what my website should look like. So I can see that my logo is in here. I can see that I have a home page, an about page, a menu, and a contact in my header already. It knows that I'm a restaurant and that I might want an order now button. Now that button color is a little bit off. The AI didn't necessarily give it a color that's going to help it pop. So that's something we might customize together when we go in here. But so far, there's some colors I might fix here. And yeah, the cat's not really going to be a good fit. And there's some things I'll probably update in here, but this gives me something to get started with. And that's the goal, is not starting from zero, not starting just from a blank template that has nothing to do with your business, starting with something a little bit closer. But I can come in here and customize this before I proceed. And I could say, well, let me see okay, yeah, those colors actually, that red matches my logo a little better. Maybe this one, yeah, actually, that's an even better match. So, and then what else? Maybe some of the fonts. So if we look at the fonts in my friend's logo, I have a few different options here in the sidebar, some pairings. That looks pretty close. Now it's obviously not exact to my brand, but actually, you know what? That might be the right one. So I can also come in here and select my own fonts. You can upload your own fonts now in WordPress. There's a lot of really great design options where you can customize spacing, colors, all of this without code very easily. So I'm just going to go ahead and say save and continue now because I'm pretty happy with where it's at. But you can see that you don't have to just take exactly what we give you right away. You can take a few pieces, make a few small tweaks. But as I say save and continue, I'm now getting my WordPress set up with a site, navigation, my logo's populated, there's an order now button. I really need to go in there and put my content in instead of assemble a structure from scratch. And that's really our goal, is that oftentimes people will know what they want on their website, but not necessarily the step-by-step of how to build it. Or maybe you know the steps that you want to build, but you don't know how to use the software to get there. But here we are. I have just entered WordPress in my new Sunrise Bagel site. I'm here in my Bluehost dashboard, so I just want to take a quick look here before we proceed to some of the customizing. So when I'm in WordPress, I have my WordPress logo in the upper left corner here. I have my site title next to it, or it says Sunrise Bagels. I can say visit my site there, or this is a store, so I could also say look at my store page specifically. And then I have a few other options here on what we call our admin bar up at the top. And then I also have my WordPress admin menu here on the left, where I can start coming in to add media, I can add products, and start really building my online business and telling my story. But if I take a look here on my Bluehost homepage, it says a few things for me. One, that I have some next steps, so I could start adding my store info, connect a payment processor so I can start taking online payments. I can set up shipping options, maybe if I was drop shipping bagels cross country, or if I want to make sure that I'm paying taxes and building out my business right. All the tools I need, I can start from right here. I could also come in here and just start customizing some simple posts and pages so I can find all of my website pages, my blog posts, and my products. I can come in and start customizing my store. If I had recent orders, I could see how much money I was making. Always nice. I have some other solutions available to me here. So as I start building my site, if I find, maybe I want some help with some professional design services. Maybe I do have a site I'm looking to migrate. Other tools and features we have available here in our marketplace. I would definitely point you to take a look at the performance and settings options. We've had some other webinars in recent months about some of these, and I definitely encourage you to check them out because they're really important to your site succeeding. And staging is a really great tool to help you work in a non-destructive way so that you can always revert back to where you're working. But because today, for now, I'm just comfortable working on this site. I can always start a new copy for my friend. I'm not going to work in staging today, but this is a really great tool and feature that is provided for free with your Bluehost account. All right, but it's time to get started. So I'm going to take a look at what my site looks like right now. So I'm logged into WordPress right now. So I see that I have the WordPress admin bar. It tells me I haven't had any traffic because I've just gotten my site set up. But that same website that I was looking at in our site generator, I can see here. And obviously it has some placeholder images and some text that we're going to have to start customizing. So where do we go to start doing that? I'm going to come up here to this Edit Site button. You'll notice that there's a few different edit or customize options up here. In this case, you're going to look for the Edit Site with the paintbrush right here next to your site title. So clicking that is going to open the WordPress site editor. The WordPress site editor is really the future and sort of backbone of WordPress. It's where all the new and exciting things in WordPress are happening. And our AI site generator builds WordPress sites to be 100% compatible so that you can come in here and customize your site without needing a strong foundation in website design or building. And our goal is to give you some presets and patterns to help you design so that even when you come in here to start working on your site, you're not starting from scratch. So I'm going to find my homepage. So I'm also actually going to step just back out to my admin here for a second. So I'm going to take a look here. I can get to that same editor that I was looking at there on the front of my site, right here from this appearance editor link, or I can come here and say customize on my active theme. So I'm back in that site editor now. So I'm going to say edit my site, and because this is the first time I'm here, it's going to tell me a little bit about what I'm going to need to do. So I'm going to follow this tour. So it says edit your site, design everything on your own site from the header right down to the footer using blocks. Blocks are what we use to build website content in WordPress. You can have paragraph blocks, YouTube blocks, image blocks, form blocks. They can be interactive or static. They're just sort of the unit of content, how it's divided. And it says here that I can click the contrast icon here in the upper right to start designing my blocks and choosing my typography or my fonts, my layout, and my colors. So I'm going to say get started. And it says I can edit a page using this sidebar here to work on the page content. So I'm going to start following some of those instructions. So here in the styles, it's going to give me a little bit more information about how I can start tweaking my styles. And it says I can start setting the design. And so a lot of this works for me, but I might make a few small tweaks to it. I can personalize and customize some of how the blocks look. And I can always go and learn more. So I'm going to start diving in. The first thing I'm going to do here is browse the available styles. And what that will do is zoom out and take a look at my whole website. And I'm going to see some of the other design presets that are available to me. So if there was anything that was generated in that initial site that didn't work for you, you could come back here and try one of these other styles and use this as a starting place. So I'm actually pretty comfortable with what I started with. But I do want to come in here, and I know that I want to customize my phone number. So I am going to say edit template, and now I'm going to click here, and you'll notice it does take me a few clicks until I can get into that phone number, but now I can highlight it and I can select it. Why is that? When we're looking at something in what I call this sort of a canvas, it's the block editor, we have a document tree or outline. And you can see here that when I open this list view that I can get at from my header, that I can now look at the pieces of my site broken out and actually highlighted. And I can see I have a header, I have a middle group here, and I have a footer. And you can start to see how the pieces of my site, my logo, my navigation, and this paragraph here with my phone number are assembled. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to update my business phone number. And one of the things I know that I wanted to do was change, so I can see that I have a button here, but the color that it started with was actually too light. So I'm working on my site styles here. When I want to work on a specific piece of content or something in my page, I'm going to switch over here to the settings now. And I can come and I can say, okay, I'm working on a paragraph here and I'm working on a button here. I know that context is shifting because it's telling me here what's selected. I can also see that here in the bottom breadcrumbs and see where I am. And I can also see it here in the list view as I navigate between the pieces. So these are the little sort of mile markers or pieces you can use to figure out where you are. And I actually want to switch this. I want the background of this button to be black. And it's actually warning me that the text might be hard for people to read because it's the same color. And I'm going to switch that to a different color. And now I have a button that pops out and it's no longer sort of stuck. So AI got me most of the way there. I didn't have to learn how to add the button or size it or round it or any of those other choices I used to have to make with WordPress. But I just had to make a new color, and now I can come in here and make a link, and I could come in here and I just use a delivery app for my online delivery. So I will copy and paste that URL from the email that I was sent. And now I have a working button. I can say save. And I've now added a phone number to my header. I've customized the order now button in my header. I can start coming in and making some additional specific changes. So I have a bunch of different choices of fonts here, and you can always go out and get specific Google fonts or other custom fonts if you want. But I can start to customize other pieces of what my site looks like. So maybe if I come back here and I look at my home page, I could say, what does my heading look like? Maybe that's what I want to change. There we go. Oh, I have a setting on here. I've already set them. That's why. Well, if I wanted to change it in this case, I could always, so here's a good thing to know. Sometimes you might come in here and say, I changed my heading. Why didn't it change? I think that there is actually, yes, I would have to come here and I could come in and find a different font. So you can come in and make specific changes on one specific item in the post or block page settings sidebar. When you work on your styles, you're working on the styles for your whole site. And so here I'm working on the styles for all headings. And if I haven't customized something specifically, I should see that my other headings on this page will start to inherit some of these styles. So these overarching styles here for all of your blocks can be really helpful to make all of your galleries or all of your headings look a certain way. And there might be certain blocks you use more often than others. I would definitely come in here. I recommend taking a look at paragraphs, heading blocks, list blocks, and some of the spacing of your lists can be really nice. And buttons is another one. But you can come in here and have customizations for a lot of different WordPress blocks. So if there's something you find yourself doing repeatedly over and over to the same block across different pages, oftentimes you can come in here and customize what that looks like. But this list actually isn't very helpful to me. So before I leave, the one thing I'm going to take a look at here is the style book. So here I'm looking at what the changes I'm making to my styles and how those will apply to what my site looks like. The style book is kind of like a brand book. I can come in here and I can say the style changes that I'm making here, those are applying to my headings. And I can actually click each of these pieces and start to say, okay, so I want to change my headings to this font. And I want my paragraphs to be that font. And you can start finding the pieces that you need a little bit easier sometimes this way. So if there's a piece where you're like, I don't even know if is it a pull quote or is it just a standard quote or, and so you could try to distinguish, oh, okay, this is what my quote style is. This one I want to be this font, and this one I want to be that font. And obviously you can come in, make more specific fine-tuned changes, but this style book is a great place to come and explore how your site will behave with different kinds of content. So now that I've taken a look at the style book, I've taken a look at the site editor, I want to start working on some of my content, the stuff that my friend sent me. So I'm going to say save here for now. And I'm going to go back out to my WordPress admin, and I can take a look here and go to my pages section. I'm just going to come and say add new page. I'm going to just start from a blank page here. Or actually, you know what? The AI did add a menu for me. That's right. So I'm going to come in and say menu. Let's see what it made for me. Enjoy the best bagels in town. So it added some content to this page. And I like this, but everything after that doesn't really work for me. So I'm going to open this up. And I can see that I have a few different of these group blocks that contain specific sections or columns in this case. So I'm just going to press delete or backspace on my keyboard and trim out the pieces I don't want. And so, okay, so I have my menu page, enjoy the best bagels in town. I'm gonna say add after. I could also just come in here and click or hit enter. I can drag and drop these things if I want to rearrange them, but I'll come here and it says I can also type slash to choose a block. So I'll type this and start typing. And I can open my Wonder blocks from here as well, I believe. So I can say Wonder, and that's going to open my Wonder blocks library that's up here. And I have a bunch of really nice restaurant menus available to me. And whether I have a short list, like just maybe coffee and tea and pastry, or a more complex menu with photos or gluten-free and vegan markers, maybe an ingredients list. Of all the ones I've seen so far, I think this looks the closest to what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to take the menu that he sent me and just bring it over here so that you can see it as well. So he has all of these breakfast sandwiches here. So bagel sandwich specials at Sunrise Bagels. So I'm gonna say specials, and what if, see how I'm actually typing lowercase here, specials. It's actually forcing me to be uppercase. So there is this casing option here that's important to know about. So maybe if you were trying to get that lowercase and you were struggling with it, you can come here and say, turn off the thing that forces a specific case. You can force capitalization, you can force lowercase and get different effects. But in this case, I'm just going to say none because I don't want it uppercase. I want it to say bagel specials. And I'll take my first item that he sent me in that list and start copying some of those pieces over. So the first sandwich is the number 67, the Koreatown. So I'm going to come in here and say the number 67, the Koreatown. And in this case, here, they're separated with commas in this document he sent me, but this design has slashes. And so a little tip is you can do a find and replace. And so I'm actually going to search for comma space. Now I'm going to replace that with space slash. And actually now I need to go and find all my slashes and one more. That's a little tip to reformat your menu. And I just put space. I need a separator with a space. There we go. So now I can just copy and paste these. I should be able to copy and paste these ingredients. And I don't need that little ingredients prefix, but I can come in here and just say paste. And I can match the format for all of these items. And that was 879. So I can come in here and say 879. And the great thing about these menus is that when I say update, and I take a look at my page, I can see, okay, there's my menu. I can see that heading that I set up before. But as I take my browser and I collapse it down, you'll notice that this menu also works on a phone. So you don't need a separate document or PDF that someone has to download, which can be really great. And you can even update your website and then create a printout of your website if you format it nicely. So it's a really great way to sort of centralize where you manage your menu if you're tired of updating your menu board, and you can start linking to DoorDash and some of the other places where you sell maybe online. So there's a lot of really great patterns here. So here I have the menu, but you can't really get a feel for what my friend's shop is like. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to open up Wonderblocks again. And I want to add a gallery because he sent me a few images. And the AI tried to pick a few images here, but these are more pastries than they are bagels. So I'm just going to grab a few of, let's see, yeah, let's drag that. And you can just drag and drop. Oop, I drag and drop wrong though. So you have to drag and drop right. So I went too quickly. So I'm going to just go back and drag it. And so when you get that blue thing, that blue focus state, you want to maintain that and then let go. And then it will upload the photo. So it's uploading that photo. You'll see it spinning for a minute. It's making a few different crops of that image to fit it right. And now I can see that I have that image there. I could perhaps change how it's cropped a little bit if I need a slightly different view on it. I could change some of the other properties, play around with it. I can use these draggers to make it a little bigger. So I can start to get this looking a little nicer, but I want this gallery above my menu. So there's a few different ways that I could do that. I could come in here, and I like to collapse these while I move them, and I could just drag it here on the side. And now I have those photos above my menu. Or I could come in here, anywhere where you see this block toolbar with these 6 dots, these 2x3 dots, you get a drag hand, and I could take this and I can see those same places where I could drag and move my menu around. So you do have drag and drop in WordPress. And as you hover on different pieces, like let's say I need to move this menu item above another, I can just slide it up using these arrows if I don't want to drag and drop. but I could also drag and drop it here in the menu. The challenge here is that you can get yourself in a little bit of trouble. So let's see, I have 3 menu items here. If I drag and drop this, it actually indents this. So you see how I have this spacing issue now between these two? That's because I took this menu item and I tucked it a level too deep where it shouldn't be. So I just want to take it and drag it back out, and now I've corrected that spacing issue. So that's one of the things that you might encounter as you start working with these patterns. And if you ever mess something up, like let's say that I start working on this pattern and I say, oh no, I don't know what mistake I made. I could always come here and say insert after and come and reinsert the same menu pattern. How did they do it? And I could come back here into this new one, and I actually might rename this just so that I don't get confused. I'm going to call this copied menu, do not use, just so that I don't forget. And I can figure out, okay, how did it get arranged? And you know what? I just need to take this whole group and drag it up into my previous menu. And now I've broken out of the columns, but I could put it back in a column, and you can start to move the pieces in between. So you can start to see how drag and drop and duplicate is another really helpful friend. And maybe let's say that I start restyling this. I'm going to come in here and just make let's say this is my dessert section, or I don't know, I'm going to change colors to green on this. I don't necessarily recommend that, but that's the small change I'm making right now. So I've made this change here, but I need to do it to this dumpling section as well. Well, how would I do that? I'm going to go to this menu group, and I am going to say copy styles. And now I'm going to go over to my dumpling group, and I'm just going to say paste styles. And it actually didn't work because you can't copy all of those settings one by one. But I could copy this piece, and then I can come here and say paste. And it should. Oh, come on. Live demo magic doesn't always work. All right. Well, you can kind of see how you can start piecing those things together, and that everyone makes mistakes. So I've started to build out some of the menus. What are some of the other things that I can help my friend out with? Well, he's definitely going to need a contact page. He's going to do some online ordering, but I'm going to build him just a quick contact form just so that he has something. I'm going to come here to the contact pages, and let's find something. Yeah, this looks like a nice contact page for him, and he does have two bagel shop locations. We'll just say that's his address and email. He could have some open positions here, and maybe even on his contact page, he could add one of our patterns for open positions. Maybe he's trying to hire. So he could come here and say, well, he probably doesn't have sales and marketing. He probably has sales and baking. But you could come in here and say, okay, well, this is at the Arizona location, and this is at the New York location. And I can come in here to this form, and I can make sure that it goes to his email, bagel guy at sunrisebagels.com, and bagel form. Maybe he is going to want another field in here, like phone number. So I could say add a new field after. And it says here I can type slash, so I'm going to type slash. And it's going to give me a few options, and I'm just going to come in here and say phone number field. I've now customized his form. I'm going to say publish this page for him. I could come in here too, and you know what? He does have some social media that he sent me. So let me add those. Those are over in the document. So I'm going to come over back here to my document. So I'll finish filling out the rest of his menu later, but he's got a Facebook. So I'll copy that. just going to say, okay, click plus. I'm going to start typing, okay, there's Facebook. And I'm going to click this. That's my Facebook link. And he has a Twitter. Okay, you can just copy and paste these pieces. And so you can also see that if you're building websites for people, the kind of things that you can, ask them for, say, hey, I'm going to need you to put these pieces together in a document for me. Put space in there. Oh, Instagram. There we go. So I could go through, I could add the rest of these. There isn't an Uber social icon, I don't believe, but there is a generic link that you can just make a link button to something if you want to add a standard link. Or I could come in here below the social icons. I'll just remove those ones that I haven't used. I'll just add those two for now. And after here, I will add buttons. And I'll add one for Uber Eats. And one for DoorDash. And then I will just copy and paste those links. And now his contact page has all his info on it. But those orange buttons don't really work. Orange doesn't make me really think Uber Eats. I want to change that color. So I could start with, well, that's my green, but it's not quite the green I'm going for. I'm going to come in here. That's a little closer. And if you know the exact brand colors, you could try to find what those are, but I'm just going. Oh, I don't want red text here. I'm probably going to want white text and a red background. But there, now I've started to customize. There isn't quite enough space in between here. So how would I start to address that? I can come in here and start to add some margin. And maybe that's too much. That looks about right. There we go. I have updated his contact page. I started building out his menu. I helped him list some new positions, and I could link these off, maybe on LinkedIn or something. And I could start building out some of the really challenging pieces to building a site. And then when he's ready to come and build his other pages, when he's ready to come and put his video here, tell his story, maybe put some stats. This isn't really his style of business, but if you have a small business that is more of a SaaS company or stats based, we have a lot of templates for different kinds of businesses. You could come here and start a blog. You could start a coming soon page. But one little tip, you might call this a coming soon page, but you might just call this your welcome from Facebook landing page. And you might have a specific form that you put a landing page together. So sometimes we might have a name for a template, like frequently asked questions. But this starts to give me a list. Maybe it's not a question I need, but I just need a step-by-step. I can start to take these different pieces, and if I need, okay, so this has 4 or 5. What if I have 6 steps? Do I need to add one more of these? So I can come in here and say duplicate, and come in here, change that to a number 6. I have another question to add, and it has the same nice styles as everything else in the page. So I'd encourage you to check out Wonderblocks and stop building from scratch and start reusing some of these things and customizing them. One other last little tip I will leave you with before we start taking some questions is there are some other options here. You can start playing with animation. You could fade in a title. You could come in here and let's say I like this, but this is very faint. There's like kind of hard to see, but there's a yellow sort of off-white background and a white, true white box here. I'm going to come in here and say, change my section theme color. And this is going to let me play around with some of our preset styles. And I can start to play with some of the
variations that come with this. So if I were to come, say, to, here we go, to the open positions and come here and just say section theme color, you can see that you can get a lot of mileage here. And you know what? If that orange is too much for you, even if it's your default, everything can be. So I can come here. Oh, well, that's not the right thing to customize the background of. But if I come and customize the right background color, I can see here. And what if I want to remove those grid lines? Okay, I can come here and say background effect. I would prefer a smaller grid or maybe dots or none. And I can add some animations here. And that fades in the whole section, but I could also come in and start fading in little pieces. So if you've worked with Canva before, if you've worked with other design tools, I'd recommend spend some time, play around here, use undo and redo, use duplicate, and sort of kick the tires and find what works. And if you have questions, like we're going to try to wrap up with now, this is a great resource, these webinars that we hold, but I'd also encourage you to reach out to Bluehost support, check out our great knowledge base, and you can find us at community events and all sorts of places doing things with WordPress. So, Devin, I think we're ready for to take some questions from our audience.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. Can you hear me? Am I back?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to bring us over back into the Q&A portion of this. That was incredible. I just want to, kind of reiterate that you built a fully functioning, multi-page, branded, designed website in, what was it, like 5 minutes to get it up and running? And then we spent the other 10 or 15 minutes just kind of customizing it and getting those small details in.
I I like to think of it as starting you a lot closer to the finish line. We can't ever, like, no one can ever run your race for you, but we
Sure,
can make
sure.
you not have to walk as far. So
Yeah,
I think that it used to take a lot. It used to be a long walk from a completely blank slate website to
yeah,
something that told your story or that was an effective part of your business. And I think the
yeah.
thing that's really exciting about Wonderblocks is it can be a storyteller for you. It can be an employee in your business, and you can focus on your story or your business. And it's here, and it's pretty powerful. You can learn all the minutia of it, or you can learn just as much as you need to get it done. So.
Yeah, and that kind of touches on, I think, just the incredible parts of both the new site builder and WordPress, right? Where it's like
Yeah.
you can get as involved as you want. If you want, you can just give us a sentence or two about your business, and the back end, the AI will spin up a website for you. Or if you want, you can go in and you can get very specific and make sure that it's true to your brand and that it's representing the exact vision you had in your head. So thank you for walking us through that. Thank you for showing
Yeah.
us that. I'm super excited for this. In my mind, there's a couple of use cases that I think are very obvious and that I suspect that you kind of had these in mind as you were building this. And one of those use cases is for the beginner that knows they want a website and they are not very technically inclined or they're not familiar with WordPress. This, like you mentioned, gets them away from the blank slate paralysis that so many of us feel when, I'm not an artist. So, if someone says draw a picture, it's very, very difficult for me to go there. But if someone helps out a decent amount or says like, hey, okay, here's a framework, you just need to color in the lines, then I'm better at that, you know? Um,
I'm the same way. I mean, when I work with our team that builds Wonder Blocks, I like to think that most people can recognize good design. I don't always have the right words to talk to our designers and say, I want you to do this, or I want it to look and have that kind of feel or vibe or aesthetic. But I can go to them and say, I'm trying to get here, and I know that
mm,
you know, if you show me this example, oh, that I can. These are the things I like about it. I can often look at something and say that works for me or that doesn't. And I think that that's what we're hoping we can really get out of Wonder Blocks. And oh, Devin, I think I might have. Oh, there we are. Are you still there?
yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right. I lost you for a second, but okay. So yeah, I think I was just saying that WonderBlocks is a great tool to help you sort of not have to learn everything under the sun. But the important thing about WonderBlocks and what we're doing with AI at Bluehost is that there's a lot of ways to build a website. There's a lot of great website builders out there. Why go with Bluehost? Why go with WordPress? We think what's really important when you build a website is that it doesn't just go to work for you today, but that when you need it 6 months from now, 6 years
Hmm.
from now, that
Hmm.
you can get in there and it's not necessarily, you know, the same feature set. There's probably new improvements. There's probably, powerful new things you can do, but it still works 100% of the time. And sometimes on other platforms, it's very easy to get started or build something, but then, you've run out of gas in 18 months, or you need a new feature, or you need to grow, and that platform isn't designed to grow with you. And what I really love about working in WordPress is that you can start with the smallest websites on the internet and grow them into the largest,
Yeah.
and then take different pieces and split it. And there's so many things. You own your data, you own your content, and you own your experience. If there's something you want to do that WonderBlocks doesn't provide, that's where plugins come in. There's Jetpack. There's all sorts of great plugins out there that bring powerful features to your site. And that's what I love about WordPress is that I'm not blocked at the door. Like, oh, there's no city restriction that says you can't build a pipe there. So
Right. Yeah. I think that's incredibly well put. Very excited about this. We did have some questions come through that I wanted to ask you. I know we have about 7-ish minutes left, so we're going to see
okay.
how many of these we can get through. The first question, someone asked what the different customization options are in WP Admin. I think they're referring back to the beginning. You mentioned to click on the paintbrush that says customize, and if you'd like, obviously you can go back to that
Sure.
part.
So I will share my screen again here. So there are a few places in WordPress where you can start to customize and work on your site. You have your Bluehost dashboard here, right? And this is where you can find quick links to your pages and posts. And these are just links to other places within WordPress. But sometimes if you have a lot of plugins, it can be a kind of busy main thoroughfare here. So we try to keep things nice and streamlined here in the Bluehost plugin. I could come in here, start saying add a product, and that will bring me right where I need to be to start adding a new product, adding its price, maybe punching in a sale price, adding images to my products, and start piecing those things together. But the one thing that I think is really important to know is that there's two buttons here right now. You see this edit site and customize. What's the difference
Yeah.
between the wide paintbrush and the narrow one? So
Yeah.
you want the wide one more often than not. If you have a brand new site, you always want the wide paintbrush, the edit site. That's going to bring you into this experience. You'll notice these rounded corners here. And as you hover, it sort of pulses up. This is the newer WordPress editor. And so the AI websites that we generate all work 100% in that editor. And I can come here into the customize. And this is the old school way of
Mm.
customizing WordPress site. And there's still some settings in here that an older theme might need. So WordPress still makes it available. But you'll notice that it says, hey, your theme actually supports the site editor here at the top. So you can always just click that button if you end up in this customize screen and it'll take you to the right place. But the way I distinguish is that light gray is old and dark gray is new, usually.
And I think
So
there was actually a third option that said edit page there as well, and I suspect that that is the block editor, getting you
yeah.
straight into the block editor for that.
So you'll notice that this changes depending on what I'm working on. So here I'm on my home page. And so it's a site and I can customize it, but I can also edit this specific page. So if I say edit page here, here's where those AI images that aren't quite bagels, right? So I'm going to come in here and maybe drag some better images in while I'm here. There we go. Now I've updated all my images. And you know
Wow.
what? Actually, I want this image. I wish this one was in the center. How would I do that? I'm just going to go over here to this column. I'm just going to say, yeah, scooch on over there to the left, move left. I can actually drag and drop it if I really wanted. But so you can start to see how you can start rearranging. And it takes a second for some of these new crops to load in sometimes, but you'll
Sure.
see them punch in there and fill in. And I can say update, and I can just say see our menu that I just built, or um, uh, order catering. And you can
Yeah.
see that, pretty quickly I can take a kind of ugly thing and see our always by hand methods. There we go. And it takes time to build a site. There's no magic easy button for this stuff. It takes some time, but I think there's now some tools that make it easier and it doesn't take nearly as much time as it used to. So there I was working on a page. The last thing I will wrap up showing is that if I was working on a blog post, which looks very similar, and I were to say publish, and a blog post you might use for news updates or maybe any press clippings. If I had if my friend was in the newspaper, he might post it there. So here it will say edit post instead of edit page. And if I was
Okay.
working on a product, it would say edit product. So
Got it. So that's a little bit more contextual depending on what you're working on in that moment.
mhm. And I needed
Un-
to find any of those pieces. You can always just come into your admin and find the posts or pages or products
Right.
directly.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. We still have a handful more questions, so I'm going to try to go as quickly as we can, effectively
Yep.
answer these questions. Next question is, how does the website generator work with existing WordPress themes and plugins?
Great question. So we are working actually today on making the AI generator work with existing WordPress themes and WordPress block themes. So if you already have a theme you like, um, we don't have AI for you today, but if you're using um, the Bluehost plugin, you should have access to WonderBlocks. And WonderBlocks is fairly chameleon, and it should work pretty well in a number of common WordPress themes. We can't test it against everything, but we tested it against a bunch of common themes. So I could even come back here and I built a custom theme in our AI onboarding. I'm just going to come over here and I will switch to the default 2024 WordPress theme. And I can still come in here and use WonderBlocks. So even if you already have an existing theme or you built it before our AI onboarding was out and you want to take advantage of some of the same pieces that are in our AI, you can come in here and start to build a pricing table or build one of those great menus we were looking at and just
Yeah.
start pulling the pieces you need. So it won't necessarily piece it together for you, but it's pretty easy to fish and grab a few of the pieces. So,
Yeah.
and pretty soon we'll have a way for even more AI to be in part of your workflow. So,
Very exciting. And just to clarify, as long as you have the most recent version of the Bluehost plugin installed on your WordPress website, WonderBlocks should be active, and it should work on pretty much any theme that is block compatible, is my understanding, for the most part.
it's impossible to be compatible with
Right.
every of the millions of WordPress themes,
Sure, sure.
but what we do is we try to make it compatible with anything that has standard post content. The thing that you might find is different from theme to theme is perhaps some of the spacing on some of these. But if you're trying to move over, I would definitely check out our staging tool. If you're not sure about migrating your current site, staging is a great place to make these kind of, I wonder if that works, but I don't know I should changes. So I often will, if I am worried about breaking something, I'll take it over to staging and I'll say, well, what if I switch my theme? And what if I
Mm.
start using Wonderbox? And if you break it, you just delete your staging and you can reclone it again and start from scratch. So it's a safe place to have fun.
I like it. Oh, okay. The next tool we have, I think you already answered this one. Can the AI tool be used with existing WordPress sites, or is it only for new sites? I think you already answered that one. Customization options are available after the AI generates a website. I think you answered that one. How does the AI handle SEO optimization for the websites it generates? Does it do any of the schema or anything like that?
That's a great question. So one of the things that we do as we build out these patterns is we try to pick the right headings and paragraphs to make sure that we're helping you assemble content that doesn't just look right, but performs well for SEO. We
Mm.
also ask you about your social media. And so you might remember I started adding some of the social media options. When you add those in our onboarding, and you can also come over here into your Yoast SEO panel, and you can start to go through your first time configuration. And this wizard will help sort of walk you through and help you represent yourself to a search engine and say, I'm a person, I'm a group or an organization. This is my name and this is my logo. And so if you want one logo on your site and a different one to show for Google, you can actually start coming in, fine tuning those kind of specific ways you want to present yourself to the web.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Trying to rapid fire here. I know we're at time, but these are all great questions, so I want to get through one or two more. Um, what are the system requirements for using the AI-powered website generator?
Great question. We just ask that you are on the latest and greatest version of WordPress and the Bluehost plugin. We always support the latest version of WordPress, and our Bluehost plugin always supports the last two versions of WordPress. With Blocks, we always support the current version and the last version.
So basically, if you're on a Bluehost account, you don't need to worry. We take care of everything, so you should be set. No issues
You
on
kind of
that
need to
part.
keep your Bluehost plugin updated for security and performance reasons anyways. So
Sure.
yeah, but WonderBlocks is a very compatible across themes and our platform, PHP versions, all of it.
Great. Someone asked what the pricing model for this is.
We love that you're hosting your site at Bluehost. This is something that comes with your Bluehost account. And we think that it just is going to help you be successful. And if you ever wanted to leave Bluehost, you could take your site with you. You're not locked into to Bluehost with a WonderBlock site, but I think it's a great resource to build today and continue building. So.
Yeah, and I think I also want to take just a moment to kind of call out one of the missions of Bluehost, and I think that's to help people expand their digital presence, to bring their idea or their vision or their brand online. And so if you look at the past couple of years of the different things that Bluehost has been doing, I feel like this is just the obvious next step. It's an incredible next step, but it's like the obvious next step of things that Bluehost has tried to do to be a partner in the website building process, not just a host provider for you, not just a storage space for your files or your website, but a partner in the website building process. And I think that this is a really big step in that direction where we really want you to be able to bring your vision online, and we want to be here to help in that process.
We are a hosting company. We're always going to support you in hosting. But at the end of the day, when you're coming to a hosting company, you're here to tell a story. You're here to share something with the world, and we're trying to do our part in supporting you doing that. We think that if we can help you tell your story, we can also help you with your hosting. We can also help you with your performance. We can work with you on those things. But if you don't tell your story, your performance it doesn't matter as much. So we want to help everyone take that first step to getting the web they want for them, their business, their group, and start going from there.
Awesome. I think this is the question that I'm going to try to stump you, and we're going to see if we can end on this one. Are there any
All right.
known limitations or challenges associated with using this AI powered generator?
Great question. I think it's fair to say that with all AI technologies, there are limitations, and I wouldn't say that there aren't any with ours. When you spin up a new site with Bluehost, when you come into your Bluehost account here and say create WordPress site, oh, I just got logged out because I've been out for a minute. But when you come into your Bluehost account and you create a new site, it will ask you to go through and make that decision. Am I going to make am I going to migrate a site? Am I going to do DIY? Am I going to do AI? Any new site you start with us has that AI option, has access to Wonder Blocks. So there's no limitations in that sense. And AI isn't going to be again, it's not going to perfectly generate. I can't know exactly the site that you want, but I can maybe say, oh, you like mid-century design, then take a look at what that might look like in your site. And I can start to have AI bring you a little closer to where you'd like to be.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you staying a few extra minutes and answering some of these questions. And I really appreciate you showing off all of the really cool things that you and your team have been working on. I'm excited. I think this is really going to open up the door for people that might have struggled to get a site up and running before. I think this is really going to make things easier. So thank you for that. Thank you. Keep doing the great work that you're doing. And we're excited to see what's next.
All right. Thank you so much, Devin. This has been great. I think I might have just lost your audio there at the end a little bit, but thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and feel free to reach out to our support if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Bye.